Hi guys, Korean movie recap here. Before we start, warning, spoilers ahead. Today I'm going to recap a 2007 Korean action drama movie called Bank Attack. This movie is about the struggle of a father who seeks various ways to save his daughter's life. His struggle becomes even more difficult when he has to deal with police, moneylenders, and robbers at the same time. Well, how far will he go? Let's find out together. The story begins with a middle-aged man named Bae, an ordinary citizen who must survive amidst the high cost of living in Korea. It wouldn't be a problem for him if he just lived alone. But he has a daughter who has suffered from a congenital disease since her birth. Her condition is getting worse that she needs surgery to survive. Bae's work is woefully insufficient to meet the surgery cost. Even to pay the rent for his place, he still can't afford it. Not only that, Bae is also still in debt with loan sharks to support his daily life. And now, Bae is at his wit's end again to get the money for his daughter's medical expenses. The last option he can think of is to borrow more money from the loan shark for his daughter's treatment. Well, this time he can't think straight anymore. Even though he hasn't been able to pay off his previous debt, he dares to ask for another loan. He even made his organs as collateral for the loan. He also promised that he would immediately pay off his previous debt after his daughter's surgery. Unfortunately, right after he got the loan money, the money was stolen by a thief. His suffering doesn't end there. Her daughter suddenly lays limp. She has to be in surgery immediately. Bae is getting more desperate. He doesn't know where to borrow money anymore. Bae ends up taking his daughter to the hospital to get first aid, while he tries to look for money again. This time, he realizes there is no longer a way for Bae to earn money easily and quickly other than robbing. He really doesn't want to commit a crime like this, but he also can't just let his daughter die. Afterwards, he enters Moneylenders Bank with a mask covering half of his face and a knife in his hand. He points a knife at the bank clerk and threatens them to immediately give him the money. His nervous voice and shaking hand strongly indicates that Bae isn't the right person to do this kind of dirty work. And one of the bank officers who noticed Bae's carelessness sent an emergency signal to the police. It didn't stop there. Bae's plans is getting messed up when he has to deal with 3 other thieves, who happen to also robbing Moneylenders Bank on the same day as Bae. This gang of thieves seems to have a more proper plan than Bae. They carry rifles and seem more adept at bluffing the bankers. Bae, who loses to dominance, ends up being a hostage to this gang of thieves. In the middle of the action, one of the leaders of this group of thieves is injured and unconscious. This makes things even more complicated, but also gives Bae a chance to take control again. He takes the fallen ringleader's rifle and aims it at his rivals. Don't want to take the risk, they finally decide to cooperate for now. At the same time, the police, who receive a signal from Bank Mule, immediately send several officers to check the situation there. They find out that the state of Moneylenders Bank is in danger. Hearing this, one of the corrupt detectives, called Detective Koo, is very worried. Moneylenders Bank is where Detective Koo hid his history of illegal transactions during his time as a detective. Detective Koo is actually a police officer who is very good at acting. He is able to cover up all his dirty deeds by appearing as a public figure who really cares about the truth. He also gained public attention after becoming a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador. Detective Koo feels unable to remain silent while prison and his career are at stake. He decides to send one of his men immediately to secure the file, while he is on his way to the crime scene. Moneylenders Bank is now filled with police officers and journalists. Moneylenders Bank robbery is now a hot topic of discussion because innocent civilians become hostages. As usual, Detective Koo also appears as a person who is trusted by the public to enter Moneylenders Bank. He acts as if he wants to save the hostages. The truth is, he only wants to make sure his man does the job properly. He finds the situation in the bank is serious. So, Detective Koo decides to negotiate with these robbers. At first, Bae hesitates to negotiate with Detective Koo. He afraid that Detective Koo only wants to persuade him to immediately release the hostage. However, Bae finally agrees with Detective Koo's offer if he promises to order the hospital to immediately do his daughter's surgery. Meanwhile, Detective Koo has also signaled his men to immediately open the safe where his illegal transaction history is stored. But apparently his attempts to get the file still fails. Detective Koo finally comes out proud because he manages to prevent any death victim. The police chief is satisfied with this news and entrusts this task to him. But not with their fellow cops. They realize that Detective Koo has bad intentions hidden from his plan, but they still can't prove it. The story continues when the loan shark is waiting for Bear to pay off his previous debt. But because they have waited too long, they finally kidnap Bear's daughter in the hospital. They don't have any idea that Bear's daughter needs to be taken away by the police so their negotiation process can run smoothly. Of course, Detective Koo's subordinates who are looking for Bear's daughter in the hospital already lost her. Detective Koo begins to worry about the possibility that his negotiations will fail. He goes to the hospital and immediately looks for traces of the kidnappers from the hospital CCTV. He finds out that it is the loan sharks who kidnapped the daughter and starts looking for them. On the other hand, Bear still doesn't know that his daughter is not in the hospital anymore. Until one of his neighbors who ordered to persuade Bear to stop his action accidentally leaks that news to him. Hearing this, Bear is furious and begins to lose his trust in Detective Koo. Now he hates cops and doesn't know who else to trust. He also feels betrayed because his daughter's safety is now threatened. The situation within the bank is deteriorating. His partner, who intends to cooperate with Bear, also begins to doubt the police until the two of them get into a feud. Detective Koo's men also take this opportunity to quickly re-enter the safe. He tries to retrieve the evidence of illegal transactions. Story back again to Detective Koo. Now, he manages to find the loan sharks, but not with Bear's daughter. It turns out that they hide Bear's daughter in an animal shelter. Although it seems inhuman, they think this is the only way not to be caught by the police. Detective Koo immediately takes him to the hospital so she can undergo surgery. This time, Detective Koo's personality changes 180 degrees. His habit of taking bribes is used for good. The loan sharks are ordered to immediately pay the hospital fees for Bear's daughter so that she can undergo her surgery. So far, everything seems to be running smoothly. But actually, Koo's fellow detectives who were at the scene began to influence the police chief. He says that Detective Koo's plan will not go well. This will actually make the lives of the hostages in the bank even more threatened. The police chief, who doesn't want to be blamed for another victim, decides to follow directions from fellow Detective Koo. They prepare an army to quickly enter the bank and rescue the hostages. Actually, Bear had been told that his daughter had been found. But, because he no longer trusts the police and realizes the police's movements are quite strange, he asks his colleague for help to get out of the bank immediately. He tells him to check on her daughter's condition at the hospital. They make a scenario so that his partner seems like a hostage who is released and needs to be taken to hospital. The plan goes smoothly. The police are fooled by his acting. He even manages to escape from the ambulance and immediately runs to the hospital. At this point, the hostages actually aren't worried about the possibility that Bear will kill them. They know that Bear has absolutely no intention of killing them. They understand that Bear actually has no other choice to save his daughter. However, the police who intend to break into the bank end up making things worse. They are too hasty to take action. They don't need to barge in and arrest Bear because Detective Koo already manages to fulfill Bear's request. Indeed, the hostages manage to be rescued, but Bear doesn't lose his persistence. Bear actually gives more resistance to the police. He even manages to take one of the police to be his new hostage. Bear doesn't have any other choice. He needs to endure until at least his daughter is completely safe. The police don't want to take the risk. They immediately shoot Bear when he loses his guard. The 2 bullets that lodged in his body eventually became the end of Bear's life. Actually, Detective Koo manages to approach him to bring the news that his daughter successfully undergoes her surgery. However, the police's hasty actions cost Bear his life. However, things slowly improve. Detective Koo also manages to get his history of illegal transactions. And sadly, maybe this is not the ending we want. At the end of the movie, Detective Koo's personality drastically changes. He feels responsible for Bear's death and makes this girl lose her father figure. Detective Koo orders his men to comfort Bear's daughter as the last gift and apology he can give. Well, that's how the story ends. From this movie we can learn that the love of parents for their children has no limits. They will be willing to do things that even threaten their lives just to make sure their children are safe. What do you think of Best Struggle? Let us know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Thank you for watching, and as always, see you next time.